The Vatican has announced that the funeral of Pope Francis will take place on Saturday morning. The Pope's body is to be brought to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow, where members of the public are invited to pay their respects over the course of 3 days.
It was Dublin-born Cardinal Kevin Farrell who led prayers over the body of Pope Francis in the chapel of the papal residence this morning. The solemnity of the moment also marked with the simplicity which Pope Francis requested. A meeting of cardinals in Vatican City earlier confirmed details of the Pope's funeral, which will take place on Saturday morning in St. Peter's Basilica, before the Pope is buried in Rome's Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore, as he instructed. On Wednesday morning, the coffin of Pope Francis will be brought from his residence at Casa Santa Marta in Vatican City to St. Peter's Basilica here behind me. Tens of thousands of people are expected to pay their respects over the course of 3 days prior to his funeral on Saturday. Already a major security operation is underway ahead of the arrival of global leaders for the funeral, which will be concelebrated by cardinals, archbishops, bishops and priests from around the world.
What we expect is that Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, he will be the primary celebrant and possibly the homilist for the funeral on Saturday, which means he may offer a stirring elocution about Pope Francis, about his ministry, about the themes that were important for him, such as caring for migrants, opening up the church more to the modern world, and being what Pope Francis called a culture of encounter.
In the days after Pope Francis' burial, talk will turn to a date for the start of a papal conclave and the election of a successor. Fiona Mitchell, RTE News, Rome.
Well, our religious affairs correspondent Alva Connealy is in the Vatican. She joins us now. Alva, clarity emerging now about the arrangements.
Yeah, you can see there from Fiona's report that preparations are underway, and that's because we've been given the clarity around the funeral being on Saturday. Now, before all that, Pope Francis, his coffin has to be removed from his residence and brought around to St. Peter's Basilica tomorrow morning. I think it's, safe to say that a lot of focus is on the funeral this Saturday. However, the next 3 days are very important. He was a Pope of the people. He was the people's Pope. So many thousands of people will be coming to pay their respects. He will be laid out in St. Peter's Basilica in the coffin he is currently in now, a very simple one with zinc and wood. He wanted to remain in that coffin laid out in the Basilica, as opposed to previous popes who would have been put on a plinth in the past. So he will remain in that coffin and people will file in, and then we turn to Saturday and the world leaders that will arrive, Donald Trump and Melania Trump amongst them, in the last 24 hours confirming that they'll be here, and obviously the people of Ireland represented by President Michael D Higgins, but security will be tight. And after Francis is buried in the Basilica of his choosing, we then turn to the conclave. But I think it's safe to say that there's already a bit of speculation around his successor.
OK, and indeed there is. Alva Connealy in the Vatican, thank you for that. President Michael D Higgins signed the Book of Condolence for Pope Francis at the Apostolic Nunciature in Dublin this afternoon. He said he thanked Pope Francis for his life and work, embracing issues important to humanity's future together. President Higgins, along with the Taoiseach and Taoiseach, will attend the Pope's funeral in Rome on Saturday.
On behalf of the people of Ireland, I thanked Pope Francis for both his life and his work and his example on embracing so many of the most important issues to the future of our humanity together, in relation to climate change, in relation to global poverty, in relation to his particular interest in the welfare of migrants. And also, I thought of the times we have met and the discussions we had, his ability to embrace the suffering of particularly those who are marginalised.
A book of condolences also opened at the Pro Cathedral in Dublin city centre for people who wish to pay tribute to Pope Francis after his death yesterday. It was one of the places visited by the Pontiff when he came to Ireland in August 2018. The theme of that visit was one of forgiveness as he met survivors of abuse, while he also highlighted the vulnerable in society.
Pope Francis's trip to Ireland might have been short, at just 32 hours, but he met with many different people, including 8 survivors of clerical and institutional abuse, who he spoke with at a private meeting.
It was quite painful to hear what people that went to an industrial schools and places like that, and he was shocked as well. He hadn't been told, he hadn't been briefed about Magdalene laundries, and he was quite upset about that himself, that he didn't know.
We were the most vulnerable children in the country, and we were treated very badly, and nobody seemed to care. So I was very upset about that. I really wanted the Pope to know about it, and he did. I did feel like he cared, yeah. He looked very pained and very upset.
The Pope met some of Dublin's most vulnerable at the Capuchin Day Centre, and today some of the volunteers who work there remembered the visit.
There was great excitement. We lined up and we dressed up, and it was a great atmosphere.
Sight you'll never forget, to see the Pope going around posing for selfies and his arms around the people, and really and truly a great day for everyone. One of the ladies said to me after, she said, if I wasn't homeless, I would never in my life have met the Pope.
Then Taoiseach Leo Varadkar said he has fond memories of hosting Pope Francis.
Speaking to him was really just like speaking to your local parish priest, very down to earth, spoken colloquial language, told jokes, and I felt was very approachable and very willing to listen and also to talk.
He came here to St Mary's Pro Cathedral in Dublin city centre to meet with married couples and some crying babies. And there was also time for some quiet reflection inside.
He left flowers and came and sat in this chair. And just as he sat down, 2 babies started to cry. But he turned the moment beautifully and he simply said, ascolta, listen to the beautiful music from over here. And he said, it's the music of babies crying.
The empty chair, now in a place where people can remember Pope Francis. Maggie Doyle, RTE News.